Hi, I'm Michelle Smart. I'm an enrolled agent, and I want to update you on the latest on the employee retention tax credit. Now, I do want to remind you that it is still available for 2021. We have passed the deadline for filing for 2020. Try not to let all the news from our great IRS Commissioner, Danny Werfel, frighten you. He has put some speed bumps out there. He can't change the fact that it is a valid law. He's making it difficult for people by forcing them to uh, submit more paperwork. So, as you know, he sent out 28,000 denial letters, and I did do a video on how to appeal that. Those denial letters were absolutely ridiculous. They were sent to a bunch of people saying that they were not eligible when Forms 941X do not even show any way of eligibility. That was never required on that form. So these letters have no basis in reality, and simply follow my instructions on previous videos or talk to your tax professional to appeal it. It's very simple. Follow the video. If you don't have time, you don't have the 30 days that you have to respond in, then I would just call the IRS and get an extension on that appeal process. So now those were one form of disallowance letters, and now a whole nother slew has come out. So let me share with you what these look like. And again, don't let it get to you. It's all right. So this is what the denial letter looks like. Another denial letter. So they are targeting third quarter 2021. We talked about this before. Why are they targeting third quarter 2021? And it is because most of the suspension rules ended in second quarter of 2021. So the IRS is making a broad assumption that all of the third quarter 2021 claims are invalid. And that is incorrect. I had many clients who qualified by partial suspension through second quarter of 2021, and then they qualified by a gross receipts reduction in third quarter of 2021. So you just had to have a gross receipts reduction of 20% comparing third quarter 2019 to third quarter 2021. So this is why this letter is so utterly ridiculous. So we can't allow your claim. And they are saying on here, we can't allow your claim because there were no suspension orders. Well, the 941X doesn't tell you how they qualified unless you're a recovery startup business. So if you qualified by gross receipts reduction, it's not indicated anywhere on the 941X. So look at this letter. There were no governmental, or our records indicate there were no governmental orders related to COVID-19 in effect during the quarters you claimed ERC. There actually were some in third quarter in California in county levels. So even that's not correct. So again, it's utterly ridiculous. It's just giving us a lot of busy work and another road bump. Don't let it upset you. Just follow through with your appeal. So you can see it's the same appeal process as I have gone over in the previous video on how to file an appeal. If it's under $25,000 per quarter, you just do these first 4 steps. I'm not going to read them again. And then there's a formal protest if it's over 25,000. And look at this, they're targeting these tiny businesses, asking for a $13,000, $14,000 refund. It's utterly ridiculous. So just respond and don't let it get to you. In other news, the IRS came out with some more news last week, August the 26th. These are more warning signs of abusive filings of the ERC. Again, more scare tactics. I've done most of my work in California and on the West Coast, and there were so many suspension laws and so many people who had the reduction in gross receipts. Just so many people qualified. I hardly turned anyone away. And believe me, I checked and I interviewed every single client thoroughly. So this is really interesting wording on this notice, and it has a lot of tax professional up in arms about what they've said. So the point that I don't like, and I'll leave you the link, essential businesses during the pandemic that could fully operate and didn't have a decline in gross receipts. So they're saying that is probably a scam. If you were an essential business during the pandemic and you could fully operate. That's very deceiving. So let's instead look at, and there's other things, businesses unable to support how a governmental order affected their businesses, family wages. We already know all these things. If you're using a proper professional, they knew that the PPP wages were not eligible. They knew that family members' wages were not eligible, and employers who were too large were ineligible, except for wages that were paid for people who did not provide services. So let's just go back then and look at this notice. So this is notice 2021-20, and this was put out by the IRS. And again, this is under scrutiny by lawsuits because this is being claimed as a violation of the APA, that the IRS didn't even have the authority for this, for making these guidelines. But under this, question 11 on the frequently asked questions on this notice put out by the IRS on defining the ERC. If a governmental order requires a non-essential business to suspend, but allows essential businesses to continue, is the essential business considered to have a full or partial suspension? Okay. If the employer that operates an essential business is not considered to have a full or partial suspension, if the government order allows all of the employees' operations to remain open. This is the IRS's own wording. And if there's a partial suspension, and they further define that, a nominal suspension of 10% of their business. So what they're saying is, let's say you're an essential business, you are a grocery store, and the essential business is defined in every state a little bit differently, but you're an essential business, you're allowed to remain open during COVID, and you're a grocery store. This is telling you that if 10% of your grocery receipts in 2019 were from a part of your business that was shut down or suspended, then you qualify. This is, again, notice 2021-20, the main notice on the IRS, further defining and narrowing the definition of who qualifies for the employee retention tax credit. So essential businesses can qualify. This has always been the case. If your hours were reduced, if you had, say, for example, self-service deli, if that was shut down and 10% of your gross receipts in 2019 were from the area of the business that was shut down by a governmental order, then you qualify. You do not have to have a reduction in gross receipts to qualify by partial suspension. This has always been the case. It's nothing new, but we don't really like that wording that the IRS put out. Again, this wording, it's just essential businesses during the pandemic that could fully operate and didn't. It's like just trying to edge away from what their rules are for qualification. So just make sure that you're working with a professional who really knows these rules inside out. If you get any disallowance letters, they can respond and appeal to them. So just don't let it get to you. Another court case filed against the IRS for non-payment of the ERC. Cross Automotive, this is out of Texas. So if you're in Texas, again, this is for non-payment. I'll put a link to this. These people filed in September 2023, and they've already filed a lawsuit saying that they did not get payment on their employee retention tax credit. Which, as we know, went from September 2023 until just recently, and now they're only processing very, very slowly, and only through January 31st, 2024. They lifted the moratorium supposedly, and they still haven't paid it. The IRS claims they continue to process. So it's getting ridiculous. I'll put a link to this. So if anybody's needing to file, they can have that. Here's again the Coalition to Preserve American Jobs. They keep pressuring the IRS to get going on these claims. It's utterly ridiculous. It's 2024 and people are just, they're needing the money now. They were able to scoot by until now and businesses are closing their doors because they're not getting this money. Here's some more news. Virginia senators press the IRS on delays in COVID-19 on the employee retention tax credit. So we're just keep seeing a lot of pressure on the IRS, huge mistakes, sending out these letters where they have omitted the taxpayers' rights to appeal. That's absolutely outrageous. Sending these letters of denial to very small businesses, claiming that so many of these ERC claims are improper when they are not, and when the IRS absolutely has no way to tell if they are improper unless they look and see that they did not have employees during this time. Field denial letters that the IRS sent, as you've seen in previous videos, where they said that the employer was not in business during that time. However, from the very transcripts that I got off the IRS website on that client, it showed the IRS had received the 941s in those time periods, and they had received payment for the payroll taxes in those time periods, and they had received the 1120S in those time periods. So they were obviously in business. So these are just, I'm sorry, Werfel needs to be fired. He's doing a terrible job as the IRS commissioner. And I think it's really important for us to keep pressure on our representatives and have them put pressure on the IRS to stop messing around. This is a valid law. I don't want people to be afraid. What we've had is a lot of people who qualify and could really use this money are afraid to file due to these speed bumps. Just make sure that when you file for the ERC, that you have somebody who's qualified, who knows these laws, who doesn't freak out when they get a letter from the IRS and they know how to respond. So this is Michelle Smart, giving you the latest update on the employee retention tax credit. Please click like so that other people who are going through this waiting period can find this page. Thanks again for watching.